Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brian from Classic G-Body Garage, and today I'm working on a 1987 Cutlass 442. Very beautiful car. Now this car came to me from one of my YouTube subscribers. He is a local guy. I've known him for a little while now. He just picked this car up and mentioned that it had a few problems with it and wanted me to take a look at it and see what I can come up with. So what I'm going to do here is diagnose a couple of things. First things first, let me walk back around to the interior. He mentioned that he was getting some fogging up on the dashboard, up on the windshield. So he put some towels, stuffed them in the vents. He got some fogging on the windshield, some humidity inside of the car, and also got some antifreeze leaking outside of the car on the passenger side. And also when he drove it here, we noticed that it was starting to overheat as well. Now the gauge cluster is not working as good as it should. I'm going to probably end up going through that. I do have a full video on how to basically rebuild a gauge cluster in one of these cars when they're acting up, because it's a very common issue. So make sure you check that out. I'll go ahead and link that within the video as well as down in the description. But I did mention this had an overheating problem. It was boiling over from the overflow tank and very, very foamy. So could mean a couple of things. It could mean that the head gasket's bad. You have a bad head gasket, it's pumping a lot of air into the system and causing the antifreeze to boil over into the overflow and cause a lot of foaming issues, a lot of air in the system. However, it wasn't blowing any white smoke out of the exhaust, which is also common of a head gasket issue because it's also burning the antifreeze. Second thing, probably the most obvious thing, is the humidity. The humidity inside of the vehicle. That is almost a dead giveaway for a heater core leak. Now I do a complete heater core replacement and AC evaporator core replacement as well in one of my other videos, so I'll go ahead and link that video as well, so be sure you check those out. But that is going to be my case most likely with this car. So what I'm going to do now is I just pulled the car out of the garage. I have a coolant pressure tester. There you go. Radiator pressure tester kit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and locate the leak on this car, and I'm going to go ahead and do that by hooking up my pressure tool up to the radiator right here, pump it up. It should say the pressure on the cap here, 16, I believe. It says 15. Let me turn this around. It says 15 on the cap, so that's typical pressure for a cooling system. You can see some coolant sitting there from when it overheated. It did not damage the motor, at least I don't think it did. When he drove it here, it didn't seem like it was too overly hot. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up the pressure tester kit up to 15 psi and see what kind of leaks we can get, see if we can force some coolant out of the cooling system. So a couple things to keep in mind when you are doing a pressure test. Alright, so one of the main reasons why this thing was potentially overheating due to a heater core leak is because the system wasn't holding pressure. And when the system doesn't hold pressure, the boiling point of the coolant isn't where it should be, so it starts to boil over a lot sooner, and therefore go ahead and boil over in the overflow tank and spew out, almost thinking that there might be another issue besides the heater core. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. He also mentioned that this cap, this is definitely not that's a brand new cap on there. It's an aftermarket cap. So I'm going to stick a different cap on here, but you can see the coolant level down in there. If you can see in there, there you go. You can see the cores inside the radiator, and that coolant is low. So I'm going to go ahead and top that off with some water. Make sure we have a full tank of water or coolant in there, because if you go ahead and pump up the system without there being a full radiator, you're going to be trying to compress that air in there, that big void of air. So you definitely want to get the coolant level up to where it should be. Go ahead and make sure you have a cold motor. So I just backed it out of the garage and shut it off. Everything's nice and cold. So let me go ahead and hook up the pressure tester, pump it up to 15 psi, and see if I can force some coolant out of this system. Alright, I have my pressure tester all hooked up to the radiator. The radiator cap did say 15 psi, and that is right at the top of the gauge, right about there. Not sure if my camera will focus in on that, but 15 psi, the needle should go right there, vertical. So let's give this thing a couple of pumps and see what we find. Alright, here we go. Alright, you see the gauge going up? Do a few more pumps. Oh, I already hear a hissing sound. Now the needle is holding steady just a bit. It's not pumped up fully to 15 psi. But I already hear a hissing sound. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab the camera. Yep, and I see the leak right now. Set that down. Alright, I can see the leak. The heater core, you can see it right there. It's just peeing out of the attachment right there. You can see right there, it's already been JB welded or something. You can hear it hissing. So yeah, you think that's my leak? It's just peeing away right there. So that is definitely a good thing. Head gaskets are most likely in good shape, and this is the reason why the car was overheating, because this is such a severe leak that air was probably getting forced inside as well and causing the entire system to bubble up. The boiling point of the system was also all out of whack. Therefore, the engine was overheating and causing the antifreeze to go ahead and boil over into the overflow tank. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get this all torn apart, replace the heater core, and then do another pressure check and see if it holds pressure. Alright guys, past couple weeks I've been working on the 442 here. I went ahead and replaced the heater core. And like I said earlier in this video, I'm going to go ahead and post a link down in the description. I do have a video on how to replace the heater core in these cars. So as you can see before, you can see the heater core, and now I have a nice brand new piece of foam protecting the heater core. And I also went ahead, and he had some wiring issues going on here, so I went ahead and fixed that. And this hose here basically was a piece of aluminum wrapped in electrical tape, so I put a factory piece back on here for him off of my parts car. So here you go. Here I have the heater core sitting here, and I mentioned before earlier in this video that I saw a whole bunch of JB weld hiding behind the heater box there, and this is what it looks like when I took it apart. Got a big mess of JB weld, and that there was holding on, or trying to hold on, the fitting. And then also the other fitting had a crack in it as well right there. So that thing's garbage. Brand new heater core. Here is the blower motor hose that I just showed you as well. So that's all nice and new. We're ready to go. I also took the car down the street, got it nice and hot, got it up to operating temperature. It did not overheat on me this time. Everything seems to be good. So now I have the pressure tester hooked back up. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and give it a few pumps, see if it holds pressure, and let's hope it does. Alright guys, I got the pressure tester all pumped up. The needle is holding strong in the blue area, and that signifies 13 to 15 PSI, and you do not want to pump it higher than that because your G-Body is going to say 15 PSI there on the radiator cap, and that is the max that you want to go. If you pump it up any higher than that, you're going to end up blowing things out. So there you go guys. Went ahead, did a pressure test, found the leak, which was the heater core. Replaced that, pumped it back up on a cold motor. After I drove it, let it cool down, and things are looking good. Alright guys, well if you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button below. Also click on the link in the description below, guys. That is the Classic G-Body Garage Facebook and Instagram pages. A lot of cool stuff is going on there, guys. I am always on both of those pages when I'm not on YouTube here. Alright guys, well there you go. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and until the next Classic G-Body Garage video, keep those G-Bodies rolling.